and welcome to the Pekin First podcast. My name is Josh, and I get the absolute pleasure of serving as the online ministries director right here at Pekin First.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean. I'm the pastor here at Pekin First.
Had a little technical glitch there. Wasn't paying attention. So this is the Pekin First podcast, and we do this every week. This is episode 46, and it is called The Salt and the Light. And this is going to be part one of a two-part, we'll call it a series. Sure. You're getting ready to go see a show tonight. We'll get into that a little later, and it'll help fire off part number two for next week. So the way we start this is we start with this week's personal best, and this is something good that has happened in our personal lives over the past week. Sean, I'll let you go ahead and start.
Oh, will you now? Okay, so I hadn't really thought too much about it, unfortunately. I've had several good things that have gone on this week, but it's been a kind of a stressful week as well. So it's been a little bit harder to find those bright spots, and all, that's just something I got to be honest about. Sometimes people think, oh, pastor, you got, everything's good all the time, and it's just not. I mean, it's a tough gig to be a pastor, and then when you have family issues on top of things, I've got some personal things happening with my parents right now that are weighing on me, and it's been pretty tough. But Sunday was a good day, and I always default to Sunday. I guess that's natural, but we had good church services on Sunday morning, and Sunday night we started our UMC 101 class, and I really enjoy teaching history and doctrine and polity, and it's boring and awful stuff, but it actually is really good, and we had a good class, we had a good group of people, and very engaged, and felt like that was a good day. And then I'm hoping that tonight, as you mentioned, just briefly, Sandra and I are going to, after this podcast, grab some dinner with some friends and get to see a show tonight. So
Yeah, that's always a good time.
Yeah.
And the UMC 101 class was large. Mm-hmm. It was, no offense, but larger than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah. No, I was surprised myself, too.
Yeah. So, awesome. Okay. This week's personal best for me is I'm going to default to Saturday, which I have for the past couple. And that is I got to go watch my youngest daughter play volleyball. And then we also got to go see a show, the same show that you're going to see tonight. So got to spend a little quality time with the youngest. I don't get to do that very often. She's getting to that age where friends are becoming important in a teenager's life, and volleyball. But to watch her play is amazing, and then to get to spend some quality time with her, and there was a life lesson in there too. So
yeah, awesome.
So this is called The Salt and the Light. In Matthew 5. 13 through 14 in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus calls his followers the salt of the earth and the light of the world, urging people to preserve the world like salt and illuminate it like light. This week we're going to take a deep dive into how as Christians we often find ourselves in a landscape that is at odds with our beliefs or makes us uncomfortable. And we're going to go walk through that. Christians are called the salt and the light in the world, which means actively participating in society while embodying the principles of their faith.
Yeah, this has been a conversation that's been going on in Christianity for years and years and years. There's a great book written, I can't remember when he wrote it. H. Richard Niebuhr was a theologian, and he wrote a book called Christ and Culture. And basically, he outlines about 5 different ways that Christians can and are either engaged or not engaged with culture. And, and he doesn't really say one or the other is right or wrong. He just says kind of this is the way that Christians throughout history have been or not been involved in culture. And it's really fascinating because sometimes people say, well, as Christians, we got to get out of culture altogether. We just got to create either a utopian society or monasticism, gets us out of the world as much as possible. And even to a certain degree, the megachurch movement, I think in some ways, establishes an environment where people can, you got schools there for your kids, you got gyms, you got restaurants. You don't ever have to leave the megachurch campus necessarily if you don't want to. But I think there's I think there's a real downside to that, because I do believe that Jesus tells us that we, as you said, I mean, we're to be salt and light in the world. And if we're to do that in the world, we got to be in the world.
Right. And sometimes, so the show that I went to, and I guess I'll just divulge the show. I was going to kind of keep it, but it was Rent. And I took my 12-year-old, so Rent, I have not seen Rent before, but I do know the very, very little bit I know about theater, is Rent can be, in any show can be shown in a different light. There's different ways that it can be interpreted. That's what I was looking for. It can be interpreted in different ways, or adult content to not adult content, right? It can be lightened up a little bit. And this was pretty heavy, and it weighed on a lot of social issues that we deal with today. And I was uncomfortable. And I say that only because I was uncomfortable, because it was out of my normal, right? You get into a groove, you get into a normal, you get around the people that you're used to being around, and then when you get around a different group of people, no matter what that is, it makes you uncomfortable. And Christianity is being uncomfortable.
Yeah, right. And I mean, you were with your daughter too, your young daughter. And so, you've got that whole element there. Like, what am I exposing her to here? I remember when my kids were little, but my kids are 30 and 29 now, so mine are much older than yours. But I remember when they were teenagers and when they were young, and how Sandra and I had to really prayerfully discern what kind of movies we were going to let them watch, what kind of music we wanted them to listen to. And, we were I would say we were pretty lenient with our kids in terms of allowing them to listen to secular music and watch, more adult content types of movies. Other Christian parents are much, much stricter with their kids. But I think and I want you to share a little bit about what you felt like was the positive coming out of that. But let me just say this real quick for people who don't know. My wife is very involved in the theater, and Sandra and I actually met doing theater. I taught theater for several years, so I was pretty engaged in the theater world for a long time. And when Rent first came out, I was a drama teacher at the time, and so I was really very interested in the storyline behind it. And basically, Jonathan Larson, who wrote the play, was a waiter working in New York. He was striving to try to write the great musical, and he basically just decided he was going to focus on the people that he knew, which were a lot of folks that were struggling with drug addiction and some prostitution issues and stuff that's real and real life stuff in the city. And he wrote this rock opera called Rent based on all of that stuff. AIDS was a big issue at the time, and homosexuality, issues are in there. So just know all that ahead of time going into the musical. And maybe it would have been a nice thing for your pastor to have said to you when you said, "Hey, I'm taking Emily to see Rent," to have said, "Josh, do you know about this show?" But I've seen a couple of different versions of it. And as you say, the director has a choice about how they want to handle some of those issues. Ultimately, and I don't want to spoil it, but ultimately for me, this is a story about relationships and about love and about the way that we care for each other in the midst of crisis. There's some really good, positive, relational and societal answers that come out of this play.
And it was, so we do know one of the actresses in it, and we go to a lot of her shows, and this was a different show for her, and she was really good in it. But my daughter, so when we got all done, and I just kept looking over to Emily, like every there's a couple items in there, and I just kind of look over, and my daughter has this eyebrow that goes up that Zena's middle daughter has taught her. She's taught her some stuff with the eyebrows to either try to get something out of me or get a reaction out of somebody. But her eyebrows will go up like, what? Huh? And so when we got in the car, I kept tossing back and forth how I was gonna ask her about the play. And so we're in the car, and I said, "So Emily, what did you think?" And she said, "Oh, it was okay." And I said, "Well, here's the thing about it. You may not agree with the way people live. You may not agree with their opinion. You may not agree with their beliefs, but God told us to love everyone.
Yeah.
And what prompted me was her, because she has downloaded the Bible app onto her phone. She asked if she could have it, and her mom was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So she wanted the Bible app. She's excited to listen to Christian music. She's found a couple songs that she is connected with. And so she got in the car the other day and she's like, "Can we listen to," and it was a Christian song. And so I pulled up Amazon Music. Of course you can. And so she's finding her faith.
Right.
And so that in that moment, I knew that it needed to be something with her faith and what she's learning about in the Bible.
Right.
And the bottom line is God says love everyone, no matter what.
Right. Yeah, and that's the bottom line of the show. I feel like it is a show about love. It's a show about how we treat other people who are different than we are, and how we find real relationships and all of that. But all of that comes back around to this idea about how we live our lives as Christians in the world.
Absolutely. I found an article, and it's from the Source Life Living Church, and it's in Liberty Hill, Texas. And it goes on about the things to focus on as a Christian, and it's about the secular culture and how Christians should go out into into the world with an open mind. And it's understanding secular culture is essential for Christians to effectively engage the world around them. Christians have the responsibility to positively, and this impacts me more than anything because of all the things we have going on today. Yeah. Christians have a responsibility to positively impact secular society by living out their faith and values. That one hit hard because we're going through job reviews and stuff from my quote unquote day job. And he said, you live great and you give a great example, is what he said. You give a great example, which inspires our employees to be better than they are or they were yesterday. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that hit home to me.
Yeah, tolerance and understanding as well. I mean, that's huge, a huge point as well. You know, and there's a limit to that. I mean, we're not going to just accept everything. You know, we're going to live into the world with a degree of tolerance and understanding that people are dealing with trauma in their lives, that people have been through all kinds of stuff, and most people don't understand anything about God or about Christ or the Bible or anything. And I think if we go into the world assuming that everybody just knows all that and that they're just misbehaving because they want to misbehave, we're in a bad position already. We got to go into it with a sense of tolerance and understanding where people are at in their lives and help them to come along on the journey with, you know, especially for those of us who have been in a place where, you know, I didn't grow up Christian. So it took me till I was in my 20s before I understood Christianity. So I get it. I get the fact that I was at a certain place when I was in my 20s, and I people who judged me, I didn't want to have anything to do with. Mm-hmm. But people who accepted me and welcomed me, embraced me, and said, you know, there's a God who loves you and wants to give you a better life. I mean, that was appealing to me.
And if you haven't heard Sean's story a couple weeks ago, he told that, was that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, he kind of enlightened his story a little bit. You reveal, every time you tell that story, you reveal a little more. Yeah. It's like the teaser, right? Yeah. And you were in your 20s. Now, I was in my 30s, so my late 30s. So it took me a little longer. Mm-hmm. But responding to offensive content requires grace, wisdom, and commitment to upholding Christian principles. Right. Grace being the big one.
Yes.
None of us are perfect.
Right.
Zero of us are perfect.
Right.
And we all make mistakes, and we all have issues, and God gives us grace through Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And then that last one is finding common ground with the secular culture. Again, not saying we're going to compromise. We don't want to compromise our values. We're just going to find common ground. We're going to say, where can we meet in the middle here? How can we find a place where what you believe and what I believe actually merge together somewhere? And love oftentimes becomes that place. Because even folks who are not interested in God or Christianity or faith or grace or any of this stuff that we're talking about, they can agree that love is the answer, if we're going to quote the old 70s tune. Love is the answer. And that's what Jesus taught and what he preached. And bottom line for our Christian faith is that love.
Yep. And I sent you a meme today because as we're exploring this topic, and because this weekend after I seen Rent, I seen you on Sunday, and I'm like, so,
right.
And you're like, it sounds like a great podcast. And I'm like, yeah. And then, so we've been beating it back and forth all week, and I ran across the meme today, and I screenshot it to Sean, and it says, never be the Christian standing between a person and Jesus, because you never know when that person will, when God will call that person to follow him. And he calls us all at some point to follow him, and just never be the person standing in the way. Never be the person that needs their seat. Is that what you said one week?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. If you're sitting in their seat, right. Yeah. Never be the Christian that stands in the way. Always be the one who's pointing them towards Jesus. And that's what Salt and Light's all about. Mm-hmm. That's what for your primary scripture that you quoted today. If we're going to be salt and light in the world, which is what Jesus told us to do, light illuminates things. A person who's standing between a person and Jesus is not illuminating Jesus. They're shining the light on themselves more than they are on Christ, and that's very dangerous. And salt is going to add flavor to the society. It's not going to take away from it. So many Christians, I feel like, are the opposite of salt. They're kind of like, what's the opposite of salt?
Pepper.
Pepper. Okay. They're like being pepper, and they're being darkness, and they're being pepper, and that's just so. It's sad to me, and it is not helping in this world in which we're living right now.
Absolutely. And so we're going to dive into part 2 next week. Sean's going to go see Rent tonight.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure that will spark something. God will speak to you. I'm 100% sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, I've seen it a couple times before, but I'm sure that this rendition will be different. But what I'd love to have is some questions. I mean, if there's some folks that are listening and this topic is intriguing to you, but we maybe didn't say what you wanted to hear us say, send us a question. Send us something that we can work off of next week based on this idea of being salt and light in the world. What's it mean to you to be a Christian in the world? Maybe you think that you need to be a little bit more outgoing or share your faith more in some ways. Whatever the case may be, let us know, and let us we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. And you did mention, so we're going through the UMC 101, and you did mention, we touched on it just a little bit, and it has to do with the United Methodist Church and its beliefs, if you will, or its the book of discipline, and how that all came about, and the split off. So we'll deal a little bit with that in the UMC 101 class, and maybe we'll touch on that just a little bit next week as well. So I have some end thoughts getting out of that subject and going into another one. So I have everybody know, well, maybe not everybody knows, but for those of you who know me, know that I manage 400 properties throughout the day. This just happened today, so it's not on our outline. I manage 400 properties throughout the day, and I had a young gentleman come in who knows somebody who worked for me, and so on and so forth. And he came in, and this is a couple weeks ago, and he needed a job. He goes, but I can't work full time. I got some health issues, and I just want to work a couple days a week. And I said, no problem. I got yards that need mowed. I got properties that need cleaned out, carpet that needs pulled, just the the things like that. And I got somebody for you to work with, because this gentleman didn't have a driver's license. And he was very grateful, filled out an application, brought it back, and has done all the things. And he's worked with us 2 weeks now, and he just works 2 days a week, as long as the weather permits and stuff like that. And yesterday he was pulling flooring, and my aunt also works with me, and she noticed that he was huffing and puffing a lot. And she's like, "Are you okay?" And when he got his breath, he's like, "Yeah, I have lung cancer."
Oh.
But it will come back. Like, my breath will come back. And when it came back, he said, "I'm terminal." Meaning he has a short time to live.
Right.
Now, this is the most energetic guy on my crew.
Wow.
And granted, he's new. And like one of the other employees said a while ago, he's like, "Well, everybody's kind of, energetic when you start a new job." But he's terminal. And his comment to my aunt was, "God will take me when he's ready."
Wow.
And to have that attitude going into it, and it made me feel really blessed that I have the life that I do. And given that sentence, he can still make a positive out of this world. Yeah. Why can't I?
Amen. That's good. Yep.
So, all right. We have all kinds of things going on here at Pekin First. We have the UMC 101. For details on any of those, and I've recorded the UMC 101, and we'll get it out. It's actually on the website. It's just kind of hidden. I'm going to bring it more to the front here this evening and put an intro with it and stuff. So it will be on the website tonight. So get a hold of that first UMC 101. Come attend the second one, which was 6 o'clock on Sunday night. We have a guest speaker this Sunday. So, but visit pekinfirst.org, and you can see all the cool things that Pekin First has going on.
Yeah, check out the Monday update as well. That comes out on Mondays. They give you all the things that are happening at the church, but there's so much going on, and we would love for you, if you're listening and not a part of a church and you're looking for something, please come check us out. We would love to see you this weekend.
Absolutely. And I believe that is all we have for this week. Don't forget to like and follow this podcast. And just remember, God put us here to do great things. So let's go do great things.